On this episode of The New Modern, my guest is Aviva Kohen. I'd met Aviva back in 2017 when she was the Director of Media and Communications at the City of Saskatoon. I call her the Queen of Tourism. I was on a media trip there and she was just so warm and welcoming and full of knowledge, and it really felt like Saskatoon was my second home, at least for the few days I was there. Fast forward to August of 2019, her and her family decided they wanted a little bit of a change, maybe a lot of bit of a change. So they pack up and they move from Saskatoon to Calgary. Now, interesting side note, Aviva had spent 11 years in Calgary beforehand, but that was a different lifetime ago. So kind of a new change through an old change. So just as they're setting up shop and getting roots and getting jobs and everything's slowly coming together, the pandemic hits, and about 7 months after they land in Calgary. So pandemic life changes everybody, regardless of if you're a male or female or young or middle-aged or old. Everybody has been affected by it. And for an extrovert such as Aviva, it was definitely a big change. And Aviva is intelligent, she's driven, she's ambitious, she excels at everything she does. She's a wonderful mother, and I am truly honored and flattered to call her a friend. So she's going to talk about how the pandemic affected her and her family and her perspective and her outlook, and what lessons she's learned through this and how they'll carry through in her life going forward.
I really think that this whole pandemic time has been the year of the sloth. I think that we are all moving at such a slowed down pace. And I know for myself, having had such a fast pace as a single mom, and just with what I had filled into my life, it actually has been a gift to learn how to slow down. And I think moving forward, once we get out of the other side of the pandemic and all of the restrictions, I think for me, I will take that lesson to heart. I will unlikely go back to the pace that I had before. And I think that allows me to really appreciate what I do have in my life and really make time for the things that are most important. And I think that's been a real gift, which I wouldn't have anticipated, because like most people, I think I've been on that roller coaster of emotions. There's been a lot of fear and frustration and all the things. But I really am actually grateful for some of the gifts that I've gotten out of this, and probably the biggest one being that I have taken more time to sit with my feelings, to be introspective, to think about what I really want in life, and I'm quite clear on that now. So I'm ready to go get it. But I think that this time has been a bit of a gift in that way that a lot of us might not have foreseen. So grateful for that, and also ready to just go get them. Having moved to Calgary right before the pandemic hit from a different city where I had established roots and had a community of support, that's been a really challenging time in that we were just having recalibrated our schedules, and we're getting into new routines and building new relationships when COVID hit. And so I've spent a lot of time thinking about, how can I build a new community? How can I connect? How can I set my expectations in a way that are more realistic for the times? Because I am a firm believer in really finding joy in the present, which is challenging right now. And I think we all have to really push ourselves in our own way to find what brings us joy, and what are we, in what way are we able to find that, given all of the restrictions and the chaos going on around us. So for myself, I have learnt some new skills coming from the flatlands of the prairies, learning to hike. And I did that by ordering a treadmill and practicing at an elevation all through the winter. And now I'm going out and enjoying the Rocky Mountains that are nearby. And I'm able to connect with the one or two people in my bubble to do so. And so things like that I would have never imagined for myself would bring me joy are ways for me to connect with nature, and then connect with one other person, and also just spend some time being more introspective when I am doing that training and working towards this goal. So I think there's ways for us to reimagine what can bring us joy in the present. And it's not easy. And hopefully we can all get back to that connection and all the opportunities that we had before us. But I think we will be different people when we do. I think we'll all appreciate what we have a lot more. I know I've learned to appreciate all of the access to things that I have in my life, and I definitely will be not taking that for granted going forward. So each year, rather than New Year's resolutions, I set intentions. I just think that they're, for me, something that allows me to integrate it into more areas of my life, and that I have more of a chance of seeing it through to the end of the year. So last year, my intention that I set for the year, January 1st, was balance. And obviously I hadn't foreseen what would happen as of March. And I sort of had balance forced upon me because it was that forced slowdown. And I did find creative ways to bring back some of the areas in my life that I hadn't been focusing on. So things like my writing, I started to find a little bit more time, not as much as I wanted to, but still a little bit more time, and self-care and just other things that I constantly felt too busy to do. This year, my intention that I've set is connection, and I really, really want to find creative ways to connect, even if we aren't able to do it in person. So I have started to reach out and join some different groups. I'm trying to really maintain friendships virtually. I leave a lot of WhatsApp voice messages for different friends, and some of them I have conversations with every single day virtually. So it isn't the same thing. I'm definitely looking forward to that in-person connection. But for me, that really, really is a key part of what brings me joy and happiness, is connecting with people, hearing different perspectives, and growing from there. So I look forward to when I can do in-person connection, but for the meantime, I do feel like having that as something that I'm very intentional about including in my life has been a real blessing for me during this time. As an extrovert, living through a pandemic, that has been very interesting. I think the forced slowdown has been really good for me in a lot of ways, which I wouldn't have anticipated. I think I've really gotten in touch with my introverted side, and I've really slowed the pace of things, taking time to feel all the feelings and work on self-care and some growth opportunities. And the other thing that it's given me as a gift has been that connection with my kids. Having 3 teenagers who definitely would not be spending as much time around our house at this stage of life, and being forced to, we all are connecting in meaningful ways. And I think that's been a real blessing that's come out of this time that I wouldn't have anticipated. So I do think that I'm getting to know my introverted side a little bit. Although this extrovert is really ready to go connect in person with more people, hopefully really soon. As an extrovert living through the pandemic, and also as a single mom of 3 kids, I've really had to get in touch with my introverted side. So I really have slowed down the pace of my life. It was a forced slowdown that I probably really needed and was quite unexpected. And because I get my energy from being around people, really, I've taken advantage of this time to really connect with my kids. Having 3 teenagers, I know that that's really precious time and very special. And so I feel really, really grateful that I have had this forced slowdown, the opportunity to figure out who in my life is really important to me, to come into my bubble and connect with people outside of my bubble in creative ways, but then really, really connect with my kids in a meaningful way, and also slow the pace of my life. I needed to slow down. So I am grateful for that.